What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another weekly segment of Ask Dr. Kojo, my little IG TV miniseries that I do. I'm going to do these and I'm going to actually go live after they're posted, so that way I can talk to you all, engage, and get that type of that live feedback, that live energy. That's what I crave. That's what I love. But here today, tonight, we're going to be talking about dealing with anxiety and depression. And I get a lot of DMs, and I go through them sometimes when I get the chance to go through them. And the reason why I go through the DMs, when I'm looking, at my phone is I want to be able to see what questions people are asking, what do I need to talk about. And I believe that we're always going to have to talk about anxiety and depression. There are things that we see all the time as mental health providers, and it's important to talk about why you would want to get this situated, right? And for me, we're still hopefully on the back end of this global pandemic, and it's been difficult for a lot of people, me included, adjusting to this new normal that we have, whatever that is, and even for me, moving cross country from Virginia to California to do social media full time, and I'm still seeing patients part time, so it's tough, when it comes to burnout and having to educate people online, which is what I choose to do. But the last year and a half, I've learned so much, in this human experience about life, and it's been beneficial for me as a provider, because I've had my own periods of burnout, sadness, momentary periods of depression, and I talk about ADHD online, and it's given me a new outlook of mental health conditions in general, because now I get to see things from a different lens, because we're all having to go through this, this collective funk that we've been through in the last year and a half, which is why it's so important to talk about. You see my dog in the back, which is why it's so important to talk about mental health. And when it comes to things like anxiety and depression, I want people to, first of all, understand that you don't have to, if you or a friend, or let's say your friend is having mental health issues, you don't have to be their doctor or their therapist. Just by being a good friend and just by being somebody who's there, that can go a long way in helping out somebody who has anxiety and or depression. I tell my patients this all the time, we can give you an antidepressant, right, for, anxiety or depression or both, right? We can give you anti-anxiety meds, mood stabilizers. We can medicate you for what you present with, right? We can do that. That's what we went to school for. But there's something to be said about somebody who has people that believe in that person, like if you have people who believe in you, if you have a support system, it's helpful to have a friend when you're going through it who you can call in. They'll be like, hey, are you good? I'm just checking in on you. That goes a long way. And I just did a segment with Mental Health America and I Don't Mind, and I was getting to, I was moderating the panel, and I was hearing from 3 individuals who were suicide survivors, and they talked about how when somebody asked them about if they were, having any type of suicidal ideation, they felt like it was a weight lifted off their shoulders, as opposed to what you might think. Like, oh, you think that if you ask somebody who is suicidal about their suicidal tendencies, that you might put that thought in their head. But I thought it was fascinating for me to find out that the suicide survivors actually said that for them, somebody asking them if they had that on their mind was like a weight lifted off their shoulders, which goes a long way. And for me, the lesson I take from that is that it's important to look out for your friends and your family members, and it's good to have people who care, and it's tough when, we're not as connected as we used to be because of COVID and things like that, but leaning on our friends online or people that you enjoy online, if you like my content, I appreciate it. I see people sharing all the time, especially ADHD content, sharing it to their spouses, their kids, their parents, things like that. So it's important to have a community where you feel safe and you feel accepted, so my message to people who are struggling with anxiety and depression is that a lot of people are going through it, right? And even if you have somebody else who is not depressed, if that person is burnt out, there's a good chance that they understand, a little bit about what you're going through. I'm not saying that burnout is just like depression, right? But everybody has some struggle, right? We're struggling collectively, and some people are doing better than others. But I think it's important to support each other. You know, that's huge. You know, of course, you know, we'll give Zoloft and Lexapro and things like that, but to have a support system of people who believe in you goes a long way. So that's my main takeaway. And then one thing I wanted to talk about, you know, so as I post on TikTok, you know, I post about common signs of depression, bipolar, ADHD, OCD, PTSD, all these things. And sometimes people will write in the comments and say things like, people are self-diagnosing with your videos, or I think this is irresponsible as a provider. And my response to that, you know, I want to talk about that because it's on my mind. My response is, you would have to see a qualified mental health clinician for a diagnosis anyways. So I'm bringing awareness to these conditions that a lot of people are struggling with, right? So if I'm talking about depression, you know, and if we're talking about the neurovegetative signs of depression, you know, we're talking about somebody's appetite and their sleep. You know, these things can be off if you have like a bipolar disorder, right? Because if you have bipolar disorder, you could be depressed when you're not in a manic or hypomanic episode, right? So if you have the classic symptoms of depression, right, or if you're struggling with concentration, could be depression, could be ADHD, we don't know. So TikTok is not meant, and Instagram is not meant to be a diagnostic tool, but instead it's meant to let people know, okay, this is what certain conditions look like, and this is why, you know, I think you could benefit from getting the help, and you get the help by going to see a qualified healthcare professional in your area. So I just want to throw that out there. But that's all I have for y'all, and you know, I want y'all to have a great week and continue to go after your goals, and you all will be successful. So until next week, peace.